And I said, I hate this life. And I tried taking my life. When I woke up, I asked myself a couple questions of one, how did I get here? How do I never go back? And then later, a couple months down the line, I was like, wow, how do I help others do the same? I've had 30 friends kill themselves since 2010. If you are in the midst of wanting to end your life, like you have a plan, you've already written it out, find someone to be able to talk to. Whoever it is that you trust, start talking.
Welcome back to the Power and Purpose podcast. Thank you so much for investing your time, your energy, your attention into listening to today's episode. I really do appreciate it. I'm super excited for today's guest. We have Chris Eaton. Chris is a death doula and a guide for navigating the inner and outer worlds, bringing life and death with compassion, curiosity, and courage. Chris, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Who are you and who are you not? This is a philosophical question or soul question, or you could answer it as practical as you would like, but I have a feeling like you're probably going to take us on a journey. So how do you feel? Who are you and who are you not?
Oh man, I am not the person I was a year and a half, 2 years ago. That person is stranger to me. I grew up outside Chicago in an emotionless household, be seen, not heard. Many of us know how that feels. And I wasn't taught how to deal with everything in life. And I had more than my fill of things that were hard to understand, bullied with black eyes and cuts and thrown in lockers and stuff. And I didn't have anyone to really talk to. They just said, keep moving through it. We'll move past it. And so you just kind of do. And I became a pro at putting my mask on and hiding the tears so I didn't look weak. And then I ended up becoming so good at that I joined the military. I succeeded in the military. I was enlisted, then an officer. I went overseas. I spent 4 years in the war zones and experienced a whole bunch of new things where you're like, whoa, that was a lot. And how do you deal with it? Well, you just keep brushing it under the rug or hiding it. And then there's other ways. So I became a professional drinker. I drank a lot. And then I found myself in 2018 with pills for anxiety, pills for depression, pills for going to sleep. I was hydrating on caffeine to stay awake. I was taking pills for 3 fractures in my back, on top of all the alcohol, and I found myself drinking somewhere around a 750 a night to just try and kill myself. I mean, I was a drunk all day, just drinking, and that I found out was hiding all the stuff that I had buried uh, underneath. So fast forward, 2018, that was too much for me. I said, this life sucks, even though on the outside everything looked good. I had a wife, a couple kids, they were beautiful, everyone was doing great. I had a well-paying job, but on the inside I was dying. And I said, I hate this life, and I tried taking my life. When I woke up, I asked myself a couple questions of one, how did I get here? How do I never go back? And then later, a couple months down the line, I was like, wow, how do I help others do the same? I've had 30 friends kill themselves since 2010. That's a lot of people to know. And so I spent the next 5 years kind of dabbling. I knew I didn't want to experience suicide, but I also knew that I just kind of wanted to check boxes initially. So I went in and I saw 24 different therapists, and they put me on one pill or the next to try and fix me so I didn't feel as bad. And they called it coping. And they said that the rest of your life you're going to have to take this pill or that pill or talk to this person. I said, I don't know. I don't think so. And I kept searching and searching, but I kept getting the same answer. And that was for 5 years. Um, and then finally in 2023, I met an amazing psychotherapist named Nigel. I met elders of the Tibetan monks that happened to be in town. I sat with them for almost a week with an interpreter. That's a whole podcast in and of itself. Um, and then I met a shaman, and my life was completely like restructured. everything awoken for me in 2023. I finally learned what the main problem was, and that was I hated myself. I hated myself so much that I had to avoid myself. Um, but after I learned how to deal with and accept myself for everything that I had experienced in life and run through true forgiveness, I became free. I no longer have PTSD. I sleep great, minus, on a full moon night or something. But yeah, so here I am now. During that journey, I became a death doula. Some shaman tapped me on the shoulder and was like, "Hey, you're a death doula," and that's where we can get into that in a minute. But now I serve people that are dying, whether it's through terminal illness or they feel like they're dying, meaning they're suicidal or they're stuck in addiction or whatever it may be. I deal with people in their difficult moments of life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing all of that. I want to go back to something, and I like to really unpack things and make sure we understand the details. What were those three questions? Those were powerful. So I want everyone, including myself, to really lock these in because whether you're in any type of transformational journey, whether you're at rock bottom or not, the transformation is always taking place, and whether it's suicide or not, or addiction, or coming out of a toxic relationship or a toxic job or something like that. I think those three questions are applicable in so many situations. So if you could repeat those for us, and then I have a follow-up question right after that.
Mm. Yes. How did I get here? How do I never go back? And then how do I help others do the same?
Mm, mm. Powerful. And how did I get here? I understand how that's self-awareness. That's us realizing what patterns, habits, emotions, thoughts, actions, identities, you name it. That's us tracking with or without judgment. Sometimes we judge ourselves. But if you could also do this, because I've been there a million times, like my audience knows I was in sex work for 10 years and all the things, right? So it's like, how did I get here? If you could do it with compassion,
Mm.
the greater your self-reflection journey will be. So we understand how that I just recapped for everyone, right? How the how did I get here part can be useful. For you, how did the other two questions, how did the importance or the significance, in short, how did those play out for you as you were pivoting and redirecting? How did the question, how do I not repeat this cycle or end up here again? How did that shift you? Like what details? And then how do I help others? Was that did you not answer that right away? And then the shaman came and tapped you on the shoulder a year later and answered that. So I would love to hear a little bit more about those two things.
Yeah, so just to touch on the first one, that was actually the longest of the three questions. The easiest one is the third. Um, so growing up Christian, I was taught not to meditate, not to spend too much time, and then society said, "Oh, don't be lazy, don't take too much time to yourself." And so the thought of spending time in contemplation looks like you're non-productive. But there is power in taking time to sort through the thoughts and everything that you've experienced to rationalize and to basically alleviate all the stressors of the mind and the emotions. So I felt I felt that it was miseducation growing up of what is self-inquiry? What is it when you're really getting to know who you are? Not just, oh, who do you want to be? Because that's the only question people ask is how do you want to make money? How do you want to make money? And so that's what I became good at is all left brain. How do I make money? But no one taught me to develop the right side of my hemisphere. And so I learned that I was completely left brain at that point. And then through all the different traumas that I got to experience, the amygdala hijack, I was stuck. I didn't even know how to love, more or less love myself. So really getting to understand who you are and what ticks you and seeing how you react to life, to people, to circumstances, to the different emotions. I used to, when my therapist first asked me, the psychotherapist that I was talking about, he asked me, "Who are you?" Well, I listed off my resume. And he's like, "That's not who you are." And I was like, "Well, okay." So then I listed off my family and friends, and he's like, "Nope, that's not you." And I'm like, so I was getting frustrated, and he wouldn't give me answers. So I really had to dig in and figure out who I was. And I'm a spirit living in this subpar temple of a body that will one day pass away and fade, and we will move on. And once I really gripped that, then it became my values. What do I value most in life? Loyalty, honesty, forgiveness, compassion. And when you know who you are and what your values are, you're on solid ground. Everything else in life, the thoughts and emotions just pass by you. They're all experiences. Some are more exciting, and others we would rather never experience again. And that's where I got true groundedness. And once I could answer the question of who are you, and I learned that I am. So then the second phase was, how do I never roll back? Because I had studied a lot and seen all these people, and they would have these great experiences and these awakenings, and like, oh, wow, I feel completely different. Whether it was coming out of an addiction or coming out of like self-doubt, or maybe it was post-divorce recovery, and they're on this upswing, and you're like, wow, you're so excited, and it feels like they're living, and then a couple years, 5 years, whatever, they're back right to where they were. And I was like, I am not going to be that person. There's no possible way. So what do I have to do? Well, fast forward, Napoleon Hill, The Laws of Success, is one of the greatest books that was ever written. That'll tell you how to structure, from a left brain perspective, how to structure yourself. Um, you can also read Think and Grow Rich, which was his one of his books that came after that. It's the shorter version of that, and written more from the perspective of, what is success and how do you get there. But turns out that you need to restructure your life. If you're an alcoholic and you're like, oh, it's time for change, but you're still going to the same places, you're still hanging out with the same people, you're still watching the same movies and music and doing the exact same thing, how do you expect to grow, to change, to shift? I'm not saying you got to get rid of relationships. Sometimes you do, but sometimes you need to distance yourself, or you need to reprioritize how you spend your mind, or how you spend your time. So I restructured a lot. I distanced myself from different people. I started reading different material. I cut off social media quite a bit. I ended up restructuring that too, getting rid of a lot of the negative stuff, things that weren't supporting who I was. And I started adding great people to follow, whether it was Eckhart Tolle or Deepak or Joe Dispenza,
Mm-hmm. And
everything
were
that was
those the
supporting
books
it.
that you were reading? Is that the new material? Was it some of the Joe Dispenza books, or were there other books that you want to mention that were a part of this phase for you?
It was all above. I think I've read like 70 books in 2024. Um, let's see. The Four Agreements, Five Levels of Attachment, the I Ching, the Book of the Dead, the Egyptian and the Tibetan. Um, and then I also wanted to figure out, like, what is the difference between religion and spirituality. So I read pretty much all of the major spiritual books out there for the world religions, trying to figure out what was the commonality between them all. And not to stem them down, and someone's probably going to make a comment on this one, but if I were to put them all down to the golden rule of love thy neighbor as thyself, that pretty much stems out how you should be living life. And so through all that of restructuring my life, whether it was who I was spending my time with, you also have to start setting goals. And so it's not who are you now, it's who are you becoming? Who do you want to become? Envision that. Start being that. Start making the changes, the small micro changes in your life to become that person. And so that's when the shaman was like, yeah, you're a death doula. I began to research that. I sat with another death doula and I said, wow, that is me to the core. It's a non-judgmental person just sits with someone and just allows them to spill whatever's on their mind. I don't
Mm,
have to tell you. I don't have to report anything like a psychologist might have to. If you say you're suicidal, great. If you say that you want to murder your dad that molested you, great. I don't need to report any of that. I'm just going to be with you through all the intensities, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. And we're going to just experience it. We're going to feel through the feelings to go through. And for a dying person, it's important because when you're at that deathbed, everybody, every single person, if you are dying in a bed, you will go through what's called the life review, and you will let go of much things that you wasted your time on. You read
yes,
on near-death experiences, the same thing. People are like, why
yes.
was I wasting my time?
Yeah, yeah. Let me pause you for a second because
Yeah, please do.
I want to I want to back up for a second. So what is a death doula? Like how for someone who's never heard that. They're like they might be new to spirituality, new to, just learning about the energetics of life. How would you describe it? What is a death doula?
There's different types of doulas that are out there. You can look it up and it'll be more end of life doula in the States. And that's someone that really understands, what happens before death, and after death with the family, like logically. So we understand a lot of the legal aspects of what happens. We'll help you with preparatory paperwork, whether it's the wills, the power of attorneys, things that's structured to reduce the stress of the dying person, so you don't have to worry about that. Many families will break up because of the stress leading into the death and then after, whether it's a tragic death or it's a just an aging, you're aging out. So we understand that part, and that's just like the left brain side. But then the right brain side is, okay, well, what is your legacy? Who are you as a person? Being able to answer those questions. And so we death doulas learn how to work with the mind and encourage you to think and let go of the things that are on this world. We also know how to help you with a set of tools of how to work through the intensities of the emotions. I'm going to die. You're asking yourself real questions. What's going to happen to my kid? What's going to happen to my spouse? What's going to happen to this $1 million company? Whatever it is, my dog. What is going to happen? And so you have to answer all those questions. And for many people, that is really hard. You have the conversation of death, and most people change the topic pretty quick. Go ahead and have those healthy conversations and go ahead and figure those out. So if something were to happen, whether it's through a cancer that arises or something suddenly tragic, go ahead and have those questions answered. And so we walk people through that by teaching them through breath work. We don't say don't take medicines, but we encourage not to if you can. So just like in birth doula, we'll teach you the Lamaze breathing of how to have a natural birth without having to take all the chemicals in your body to reduce the pain. Feeling through that and breathing through certain breathing techniques reduce the felt sensations in the body, allowing you to give a natural birth. And the same thing in death. You will have heightened emotions and thoughts of other people in the room. So we also educate the families. And then lastly is spirit. But I actually think it's first, is teaching people, who are you? What are you? And what does happen after death? What do you believe? And so we walk people through that. And as deep as you want to go, depending on the death doula, we will walk you through. And then with the person that is dying, um, we're there with them in spirit before, during, and after the death, sometimes for days or weeks.
Wow, this is such a powerful role that you play. Like, it's just so powerful. Yes, for the person who is going through their transition, their death process. But you mentioned a short piece about the families. Do you want to hone in on any other, not so much benefits, but the support and the transformation and the guidance that the family, or maybe even relief that the families
Mm.
experience because there's someone like yourself, a death doula, really assisting. Like you're an expert, right? You're an expert in
Mm.
the death process, all the emotions, all the energies, you talked about some practical matters that come up. Do I leave my $1 billion company with my dog or whatever it is? So I would love to hone in on the family aspect because I can sense that maybe some of the listeners might be one of the family members, and it's so nice to know that these options are out there. So if you want to hone in or mention anything about the transformation or the support or the guidance or what you see happening with the families, like what the difference that they experience because of this level of support and guidance.
Have conversations. The more that you have conversations, even if it's just once every 5 years, whatever, be able to communicate to your kids, communicate to your spouse, communicate to your parents, go through and think on what would I like to be left? How do I want to go out? Do I want to be buried? Do I want to like go through all that thought process? So if the time comes, you're prepared. Um, and really understand, I would say breath work. Everyone should know that. I honestly think it should be taught K through 12 so people would understand how to reduce the felt sensations in the body because damn it, this world can suck. I'm sorry, there's no kind way to say it. And so when we feel that, do we allow that to control our actions? Or do we just simply observe and say, wow, this is intense? And then we can calm the mind back down and make that sound decision out of a place of high coherence resonance. But having the conversations and being able to do the paperwork to sort through all that is one of the first steps. And it makes it more common because we live in a society where we don't talk about death. We don't really talk about any of the bad things in life. We just kind of brush it on the rug and continue moving on. And then that leaves the people that are experiencing these things to feel shame and guilt. We won't get into organized religions, but that is another podcast in itself. Um, know your spirituality, know who you are, have the conversations with your loved ones. So when the craziness does arrive, you already know at least a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious, do you believe that your experience with your own personal struggles with suicide or suicidal thoughts or attempts or whatever it might have been was preparing you for this role all along, or do you think otherwise?
It's interesting looking back. Uh, but I would say yes, I was meant for this my entire life. I had a lot of deaths growing up, between just natural death and then cancers and things. And then growing up outside of Chicago, we had drive-by shootings, overdoses, drug experimentation. So I was at a lot of funerals growing up, and then in the military, being in the war zones, being used to being around the dead and dying. Yes, I think I was always meant for this. Some reason, I guess, before I was born, I was like, give me the really like, crazy, uh, intense life, I guess. Um, but man, I love people. And
Yeah.
it sucks to see people just hurting so bad and just surviving.
Mm.
Surviving sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm free now. And I didn't know I wasn't free. I thought I was doing good because I was, like I said, in 2018 on the outside, everything on Facebook looked like hunky dory. But now I'm
Right.
really free.
That's beautiful. What have you learned from your patients over time or recently? And I'm not sure if patience is the right word, but what have you learned from the people that you work with?
There's things that we get attached to, whether it's the regrets we have or hatred, revenge, and many times in dying moments, it's can't I can't believe I wasted all this time. I haven't spoken to my brother and blah blah blah. And so here's the thing, like that's just the lip service of the things that people will bring up verbally. But if you've been around someone that is dying and the doctors are like, yeah, they got 2, 3 months to live. Why are many people living for 6 months, 10 months, 2 years past that? And then finally, that one person walks in that they haven't spoken to, that they've held anger, resentment, or maybe it's the opposite. They just absolutely love that person. They're holding on for their life, for dear life, until that one person walks in. And so, as a death doula, it is part of my job to listen to their story and figure out where it is. I'm not trying to resolve them, but I do encourage and open them up. And when they have that one person where that story keeps popping up, and we invite that person to hop onto a phone or a video conference, so they actually make it there physically in person, and then that dying person dies within the next 2, 3 days. Wow. It was an energetic release where they finally let go of that crap that had burdened them for so long.
Wow, that's powerful. I had chills. And on a personal note, when my grandmother passed away, uh, maybe 8 months ago or so, it was expected. You know, she lived a very long life. She probably, you know, lived as much as she could. She had as many marriages as she could. That's like a joke in our family. Like she really lived her life. And my uncle, which is her oldest son, she waited for him. I think she waited like an extra couple of days, which was a big deal in her condition, you know, but her body and her soul waited. And then when he finally traveled from San Francisco to Southern California and made it to the hospital, like that was that energy. And that was her firstborn son, you know, so that really gave her the harmony, the peace, the love, whatever she needed to complete in her physical life before she made that transition. So I just wanted to I could totally relate. And it's so important. Like our, you know, just like when people come into the world, the way that we leave, because this experience here in my eyes is so sacred, so sacred. And
Yeah.
so every energy, every family member, every experience matters, even in someone's last moments.
I'm going back to the second question, um, that I asked of how do I never fall back? And one of the things that Dalai Lama says is everyone needs to have a morning and a night routine. And every morning when he wakes up, he inhales and he says, "Thank you for this breath, because others were not blessed with this. They died in their sleep, but I was given yet another day." And he'll wait. Like, I have the goosies right now, and it's like when you really feel that and you know that, your connection to the rest of the world and humanity is, I see Vanessa as a soul. I don't see her as this business person or this, and I don't look as my, at people. I'm less angry when I'm driving. I'm less inclined to be reactory or look at someone as, oh, they intentionally did this. There's a groundedness that happens when you have that routine every day. And some days are tougher than others, because I wake up and I've got a laundry list of things. I've got 3 fractures in my spine, so I could go ahead and start picking up my violin and start playing the sad story. And I could be negative, but turn that script, have that routine. I don't care if it's, I had alarms on my phone that said, be happy, remember. I had sticky notes on my mirrors and in my car and on my laptop that would remind me the remembrance of who I am and who I am becoming.
And then I'm not sure if we probably did mention some of the insight from the third question, but as we're recapping everything, we'll touch on that again. You know, yes, you're a death doula, and that's so powerful. And then how are you helping people with what you are dealing with? Is it just like sharing your story from what you went through, or is it something in addition?
Everyone's gone through hard things. I'm not more special than one person or the next. Share your story. You went through something hard. Learn whatever the lesson is that you learned in that experience, alchemize it, turn it for the better, because your testimony is the medicine for someone else to get to the next phase, to unlock another door for them. Because many of us, we didn't know, I didn't know where I was. I don't know where I was held up. So speak your truth. Someone wants to hear it. You're not a victim. You never were. Share how you got into the mix, and share how you got out of it, because that's what's going to make the world a better place.
Yes, absolutely. And for those who are still struggling with that type of darkness, that type of doubt about life and going forward, do you have a message or any insight or wisdom for someone in that position?
If you are in the midst of wanting to end your life, like you have a plan, you've already written it out, find someone to be able to talk to. I don't care, whoever it is that you trust, start talking. If you don't want to talk to anyone, journal. If you don't want anyone to find it, burn it. I write stuff down and I burn it and I release it to the cosmos and I say, I hope this goes the way for me forever. We can have longer conversations about that. That's a shamanic practice. Um, but get it out of your head. Write it down. If you want to write poetry, write poetry. You want to write a story in third person, learn how to disassociate and write everything in third person. Say, once upon a time, there was a little boy and blah, whatever it is, get it out of your head, get it off of your chest. And that is the beginning of the journey to really finding out who you are along the way. Um, Learning how to navigate your emotions. The breath work is the most powerful thing that people don't talk about, and they should. The Olympians, before they get onto the stand, have all sorts of nerves. Tony Robbins and Taylor Swift talk about the nerves that happen before they get on stage, and they performed in front of millions of people already, and they still get nerves. And they use breath work. They pause, they find a moment, they breathe deep, sometimes doing breath holds, and they elongate the exhale to slow down the heart rate, slow down the breath, and reduce the felt sensations of when that the tightness in the chest, the tightness in the stomach, the clump in the throat, all those feelings that we all have experienced throughout life. You use it by slowing down the breath in birth, death, and everything in between. You learn that, you can at least stop yourself or slow down yourself in the midst of perceivable chaos, we'll call it.
And I never would have thought to use breath in those moments or to recommend that to someone in
Yeah.
those moments, but it's that simple. It's slowing down your breath, breathing and connecting to your breath. And that will is it that it brings someone into the present moment, or it just works with the nervous system, or I'm sure it's multiple things, or is it a little bit of both?
It's all the above. So if you go to Joe Dispenza, what ends up happening in when we start feeling nervous is it's a perceivable threat. So whether it's a physical threat, like we think we're going to die, or someone's yelling at me and I feel like I'm being threatened, or I feel like I'm going to be accosted, which is, going out on stage, people are going to reject me or they're going to abandon me if I say something stupid. Okay, so all of that begins to raise this awareness in us. And that's where I said the tightening of the stomach, the chest, the throat, and all of that in order to reverse it. But all of that buildup is the amygdala, and our minds are built to say what is familiar, what is not familiar. And so everything we experience in life, we're saying familiar, not familiar. If it's familiar, we're like, okay, I've experienced that before. That's good, that's bad, that's okay. But the unknown is the scariest for almost all of us. And that's why death is super scary, because most of us don't have the answer for what does happen after death. So when something unfamiliar arises, your body will naturally go into this fight, flight, freeze. As soon as you recognize that and you're able to see that in those moments where we get scared, when you see I've got a few kids, and when I catch them doing something, the first thing that they do is they stop breathing. They hold the breath. They're like, I don't want to be punished. And you're like, I tell them, I'm like, breathe, you're fine. Let's talk about this. Let's see what's going on. But your first thing in fear, you tighten the stomach, you slow down or you start speeding up. You're no longer breathing a full, nice, relaxed. You're not getting as much oxygen as you normally would, because you're trying to protect everything. So by reversing it and telling the body through breathing as if we were happy, which is nice and relaxed and very subtle and smooth, you're telling the body, hey, even though you think you're in danger, you're not. And I want you to slow down. So you're telling the body, this vessel, like I said, you're a soul first, body second. Soul tells body what to do. I control my breath. I tell my body, hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for making me aware that I could be in danger, but I'm not. Slow down the breath, bring it down, regain control. And that closes down the amygdala and opens up the rest of the brain to allow you to make choices.
So just to recap, if someone is doubting life, right? Not sure if they want to live, not sure if they want to take their life or what, talking to someone, that was your first suggestion, or write the journal, burn the journal, get it out, just get it out of your mind, out of your body, and then pair that with slowing down the breath and breathing. Anything else you want to add to that?
If you really need to, there's phone numbers to call for immediate help. If you just need to get out, there's veteran crisis lines, and then there's the general, I think it's what, the 811 number is the general crisis line. So if you really do need someone, then call or just go to the hospital if need be, or somewhere. Um, have a plan, for those really crappy nights. And then eventually find some sort of a support network, whatever that means for you. Um, yeah, whatever it is that you're going through, there's always a support group that's out there. There's many of them, but you need to seek it out there. Take control of your life. No one's coming to save you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then as people are shifting out of that immediate phase of urgency, for people who might have experienced that in the past, but they still might feel like they're in and out. Maybe they're not having direct suicidal thoughts, but they might be in the apathy or still in some type of depression. But they also might have like a normal life where things get good. They have these high and low moments. Um, can you relate to that? Was that also a part of your experience during your journey? And then what suggestions do you have for people in that journey, in that phase as well?
See, our world, our society seems to think like our perfection is sold. Like, oh, we learned something. We're never supposed to digress, but I see it more as like a floating scale. We make a little progress, we take a couple steps back, and then maybe we make a great leap forward, then we come back. And that's where, having people in your life and having the reminders, like I said, on my cell phone or on my calendar, learning new things. Just be curious, get out there and research anything of who it is that you're trying to become. So if you don't want to be an alcoholic, research what it is to not be an alcoholic. Find something new. Learn baseball, learn tennis, learn cards, learn how to cook. I don't care. Pick any hobby that's out there that you want, and your brain begins to replace it, and you get these endorphins that get released, and you're like, "Oh, I learned something new." So it's a little bit of that, but it's okay to not get it right the first time. It's okay to feel like you're falling back. Take a journal, notate everything. My favorite one was my psychotherapist said for a month he had me writing down every time I felt like I was gonna die, like I get the all this angst and stuff, and he's like, just write it down. And he said, don't write down anything much. He's just write down the date. And I felt like a 9 out of 10 crap. I did. And then he says, all right, take a look at it. I'm like, all right. And I read it off to him, and he's like, Chris, did you die? And I was like, damn it, Nigel. No, I didn't. I get your point. We feel these things, and in the moment, and I remember this in the moment of suicide, is like you feel there is no hope. This is it. Fuck it. It's not. It'll pass. And so we find something to get us through that. And that's where the breath comes in. That's where journaling, that's where go out, get up, physically get up wherever it is that you are having this thought. I don't care if it's in your bed, if you're driving, stop the car, get out, move, change the music, call someone, anything. Distract yourself is the easiest way to put it. Because you will get through it. The feeling inside the body will pass.
Yes, movement is so important. From my personal experience, my suicidal attempt was around 12 or 13. Took a bunch of pills. I ended up being okay. And I just moved my body day after day after day after day. I mean, walking, running, exercise, dancing, push-ups. I didn't consciously think that that was going to be the plan, right? I I think it was just intuitive or subconscious. I think my soul just started to like direct me towards the solution. And it was literally
Mm.
moving my body for that whole entire year, first year of high school. And then I never had that occurrence again. Not to say that I didn't have depressive moments or challenging situations, but that was my first and last suicidal attempt. So I thank you for mentioning movement. I mean, and Chris was talking about movement in the moment. And then I added on maybe even make movement a consistent practice for that whole period of time that you're going through, whatever year that is, whatever age you're at, like just get some type of movement so consistent in your day. I'm not saying that's going to solve the issue, but I'm saying it will support you somehow to where you can start to get the other types of support as well. So I just wanted to add that in.
Yeah. Yeah. At our studio, we teach body, mind, spirit. Move the body, move the mind, move the spirit, and move the emotions.
Yeah, and that's what breath work does, right? Doesn't it move those stagnant energies and emotions out of our body?
Body keeps the score.
Yeah.
Keep
So we're
moving, stay
literally
flexible.
moving the grief, right? That's because the breath can get where the mind can't get, or the journaling can't get into those crevices, or where the energy is physically in your chest, or it's physically in your root chakra, which is very common, I think, for people who are doubting life. The breath, if you do it enough and you're somewhat consistent, or you have some type of rhythm, I think it will move those stagnant emotions. So beautiful. So I have really been enjoying this conversation, and I'm so glad we talked about the thing that people don't want to talk about: death, suicide, the difficult conversations in life. So thank you so much for tuning in to this episode, you guys. Thank you, Chris, for being here. I want to give you guys Chris's website and info. Everything's in the description, so you can literally just go there and click on it. And after I list this off, Chris, I would love to hear one way that people can work with you. And then you can leave us with a powerful quote or a powerful book recommendation. So
Mm.
his website is awakened.lifestyle. So you could just click on, it's a full link actually. So just go ahead and click on that in the description box. And then we have his Instagram and his Facebook link here as well. So what is one powerful way that people can work with you?
Every Sunday, I run a sound healing breath workshop. It's 9D, D as in dog, breath work. It is the most affordable, powerful way to learn breath work, have an energetic release. If you've experienced sound bowls, tuning forks, something like that, this is a combination of that and much more. It was written between a whole bunch of spiritual people, scientists, musicians, and they put together these 20 to 1 hour um, minute things. You pop on your headphones. It's a combination of binaural beats, which many of you are familiar with, the chakra frequencies, and solfeggio, neurolinguistic programming, and 9 different modalities put into one. And so I offer that every Sunday, and it's just a really great way to wind down, ground yourself, and let go of whatever it is that you're going through.
A powerful quote or a book rec for us.
Stop surviving and be great now.
Thank you so much, Chris, for your time, your energy, and your wisdom. It was such an honor to have you on the show.
Blessing to be with you, Vanessa. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and bless all of you and wherever you're at on your journey.
Yeah, so remember to reach out to Chris if this conversation resonated with you. Also, leave a review for this episode if you feel inspired to do so. Namaste. Have a great day.